Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world, and today we're looking at distributive law, which is how we expand brackets. So let's start off by saying I have a few packets of lollies. So each of these packets of lollies has X lollies in them, okay? So I don't know how many lollies are in each. X just stands for an unknown number. There's an unknown number of lollies in each of these packets. Now, if I give you some extra ones, you might have 2 more for each packet. So how much is in this section? There is X, now X lollies plus 2 lollies, plus these 2 lollies here. In this section, there is X plus 2 lollies. And here, there is again X plus 2 lollies. So as you can see, there are 3 lots of X plus 2 lollies. That's how many lollies I have in total. So that's what it kind of means by 3 outside of X plus 2. But what we know is that the total number of lollies I have is X plus X plus X, which is 3X. I have 3X lollies plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. And 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. So 3 outside of X plus 2 must equal 3X plus 6. So let me explain it in another way. Please pause and copy this example down if you need. So let's say I have rectangles. I'm going to draw a couple of rectangles. So I have 2 rectangles here that are the same size, so they must occupy the same area. So I'm just going to divide the top one. So let's say I'm going to divide it like this. Doesn't matter where I do. So I'm going to call that length X, and I'm going to call this length 2. And let's say that the width of this rectangle is 3. So these 2 rectangles are the same size. So this one would be 3, and this whole length going all across here would be X plus 2. Now these have the same area. So what I can do in the top one is I can find the area of the big rectangle by finding the area of the smaller rectangle. So the area of this rectangle here that I've just shaded in would be 3 times X length times width. And then the area of this rectangle here would be again length times width, 3 times 2, which is 6. So the area of this big rectangle is 3X plus 6. I can just add the 2 smaller areas together. But the area of the rectangle down the bottom, that's just length times width. But because these 2 are the same size rectangle, these things must be equal. 3X plus 6 must equal 3 outside of X plus 2. So I've just given you 2 examples to explain the distributive law and why it works. So now I'm going to rub all this off, so please pause and copy it down again if you need, and I'll go through how we actually use the distributive law with terms. So the distributive law can be written in general terms like this. A outside of B plus C equals, so how you go about figuring this out, A times B, that's just AB, you know that from previous lesson, and then A times C, again that's just AC, we know from a previous lesson, and then we put a plus in the middle because there's a plus there. So that is the distributive law written there. It's when you have something outside of brackets. And that's why it's called expanding brackets. So when you expand brackets, you're starting with something that has brackets, and then you're finishing off with something that does not have brackets. So let's look at a few examples. So 3 outside of X plus 2. So we know the answer to this because I did it in the previous 2 examples. 3 times X. So you distribute the 3 to the X, you distribute the 3 to the 2, and there's a plus in the middle. So we have 3X plus 6. Let's look at, say, 4 outside of 2A minus 1. Okay, so we do the same thing. 4, we distribute it to the 2A. 4 times 2A is just 8A. We know that from a previous lesson. 4 times 1 gives me 4. This time there's a minus in the middle. This is a positive 4, and I'm multiplying it by a negative 1. So it's negative 4. let's look at another example. Let's say I have minus 2 outside of 3x minus 4y. So I distribute the minus 2 to the 3x. Now minus 2 times positive 3 is negative 6. Because a negative times a positive gives a negative. So negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x. And now I distribute the negative 2 to the 4y. So negative 2 times negative 4 is now positive 8. So it's minus 6 times 8y. Sometimes you'll have a letter out the front, a pronumeral. So you might have x outside of 4x minus 2y. So if I times x by 4x, that just becomes 4x squared, because x times x is x squared. X times 2y is just 2yx, and it was a positive times a negative, so a negative in the middle. How easy is that? So that's how you go about using the distributive law. Now sometimes you'll have to do a double expansion. So I'll show you an example of that. Please pause and copy down these examples if you need them. So sometimes you might get something like this. Let's say 2y minus 5 plus 6 times 3y plus 4. So in this case, you just expand each of them individually. Remember, BODMAS, we do the brackets first, and then you collect like terms. So 2 times y, 2 times negative 5, plus 6 times 3y, and 6 times positive 4 gives you 24. So as we learned in a previous lesson, we can only add and subtract like terms. So this and this are like terms. 2y plus 18y is 20y, and then minus 10 and positive 24, they are like terms. If you're not sure, put it on your calculator. Negative 10 plus 24 is positive 14. And we are done. Hope you've enjoyed this video. This has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.